Welcome to the Pan-European Movement video channel. Ladies and gentlemen, while we record this video, the European Union has become the target of an hybrid assault organized by Recep Tayyip Erdogan's Turkey, an attack which consists of illegal, forceful and often violent attempts to intrude into the territory of Greece and thus of Europe by large groups of third world migrants overwhelmingly fighting-age men. Despite this unfortunate predicament, which in many ways could be described as an attempted invasion of Europe, this video will in fact be very positive, because Turkey's hostility has aroused an unprecedented, strong and united European counter-response, not only among the public, not only online, but also by the leaders of EU member states and by the European Commission under Ursula von der Leyen.
Those who seek to test Europe's unity will be disappointed.
It seems like a complete and sudden paradigm shift on the issue of EU borders has taken place in reaction to this Turkish-manufactured migrant crisis. The common sense solution to all illegal mass migration, which should have been adopted years ago, namely that Europe will not tolerate any illegal crossings into its territory and that everybody who tries will be immediately sent back, taking away any incentive to migrate in the first place, has now been made into the de facto EU policy with regards to people coming from Turkey, at least for the time being. These last days have felt like a total vindication for all those pro-EU people who for years have argued for defending our external borders, exactly because we want to preserve a free, prosperous and safe Europe without borders on the inside. And as we have often predicted, the moment that European leaders spoke out in favor of defending the borders, thereby putting the interests of Europeans first, as they should, the EU received praise from many directions. On Twitter, we witnessed people from left, right and center joining ranks on this issue. We also saw an instant reversal in EU support on the fringes, with Eurosceptics and Brexiteers applauding the EU, while open border fanatics and NGOs went in full meltdown, proclaiming the EU morally dead. But while the latter groups were crying in tandem with the Turkish nationalists who were just trying to help advance their government schemes, an unapologetically pro-European coalition was forming online. We always knew that the vast majority of Europeans were both pro-EU and against mass migration. But when we started our online initiative just after the Brexit referendum, we rarely encountered like-minded people among social media accounts that wore EU colors and symbols. We were often even attacked by some of these self-proclaimed pro-EU accounts for pointing out the obvious link between Germany's open border policies during the 2015 migrant crisis and the subsequent rise of chauvinist anti-EU parties, the partial breakdown of Schengen, and Brexit. In the eyes of some confused people, being pro-EU meant supporting infinite migration and open borders. But over the course of the last years, we have seen more and more based and Euro-pilled people connecting to us, who are sick and tired of the political and societal chaos, the EU disintegration, let alone the countless imported crimes and acts of terror that the absence of strong external borders has brought upon us. The current Turkish asymmetric assault on the EU has really activated and brought together many of those people and others, including EU leaders, in defense of Europe's borders under the slogan "I stand with Greece." It is hard to understate the symbolism of this moment. It is marked by the convergence of many old contradictions: Greece against Turkey, Europe against the Islamic world, Occident against Orient. The fact that the threat which provoked a never-seen-before authentic flare-up of European consciousness had to come from our large Islamic neighbor almost seems like it was predestined, as if it was woven into the fabric of history. Also highly symbolic, especially for the present day, is the nature of the threat itself. a manufactured migrant crisis, an artificial refugee wave, weaponized demographics. The actions of a Turkish despot with neo-Ottoman expansionist ambitions has just forced Europe to finally shed off the weak and pitiful image of a soft power that has no actual boots on the ground. The EU has manifested itself for the first time as a self-conscious geopolitical entity with clearly defined boundaries, and we have told the rest of the world to respect those boundaries. A grateful salute in this regard goes out to Greece, Europe's shield, which continues to stand her ground. Nobody can tell what comes next. Hopefully the EU will expand this tough policy to all its external borders, but there's also always a risk of a relapse into naive, self-destructive, knee-jerk reactions provoked by possible tragic incidents. Also, the situation on the Greek islands is worrisome because the locals were in near open revolt even before this crisis as a response to previous waves of mass migration which have wrecked their economy. The sea border around those islands is harder to enforce, so this is where we might encounter more tensions. Moreover, Turkey has sent reinforcements to the borders, which are meant to try and prevent Europe from expelling the intruders. Nonetheless, nobody can take away the experience of collective defiance and true European solidarity that we have felt these days. We are sure that many more Europeans have felt the same, those who participated online in the campaign to defend Greece and Europe by posting, sharing and liking, and even those who simply observed the events unfold. A united Europe finally drew a red line and said, "Go no further. We will stand up to protect our rightful interests." Whatever may happen, let's cherish the memory of this experience and let it serve as hope and inspiration for a strong and united European future. Long live Europe! Zito Evropi!